and welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark,
And I'm Midge Munster.
and you may have gotten a little bit of a hint what was going on in this episode if you stay tuned all the way to the end and listened to the reviews last time, because we're gonna talk about cadavers.
Come on, cadavers.
Hi.
Zenith is going to be so excited.
Yes, I hope so. I hope you enjoyed this, Zenith. We'll just give a disclaimer up at the top that I'm not going to be talking about anything like super in depth or gory, I would say, but it is going to be, about corpses and dissection and things like that. So, just FYI, be aware.
little death content warning for you there.
Yeah, little death and dying content. So what is a cadaver? Well, it's just a plain old corpse, Midge.
It's just a plain old body that is not alive anymore.
So it comes from the Latin cadere, or to fall. And generally, cadaver is used in a scientific context to refer to a human body.
Today it's Penny's Science Corner.
Yes. And if you are into this kind of thing, I highly recommend Stiff, The Curious Life of Human Cadavers by Mary Roach, which is an excellent and very funny book about kind of all sorts of experiments that cadavers have been part of, cadavers through history. Very, very fun and informative. I also got a lot of information. That's something that I read back in high school, I want to say. So it's not technically a source for this episode, but it is a source for my general enthusiasm for cadavers.
A source for my cadaver enthusiasm.
My cadaver enthusiasm. I also would recommend the podcast Sawbones, which is about medical history, and they do have episodes on some of the things that I will be discussing today. And I also got some info today from the Illinois Anatomical Gift Association, which we'll hear a little bit more about the concept of in a little further on in today's episode.
Please don't ever give me an anatomical gift. I don't want it.
Midge, spoiler alert, you are the anatomical gift.
I'm the anatomical gift that keeps on giving.
Hi. All right, so cadavers have been part of medicine for a very, very long time. Cadaver dissection is usually traced all the way back to Alexandria of library fame in ancient Greece.
Of library fame.
The Library of Alexandria, which
I know. It was the phrasing.
All nerds love. So way back in 3rd century BCE, Herophilius of Chalcedon and Aristratus of Ceos practiced human dissection as a way to study anatomy, but the practice fell out of fashion. There were a lot of social and religious taboos about such things, but also a lot of people were just like, I don't think that would be useful to learn anatomy, which feels pretty wild.
Yeah, I don't think we need to know anything about our bodies.
Right?
Let's wing it.
Yeah, people would just make external observations and watch living people, and they would do a lot of animal dissection and just kind of try and extrapolate that.
Because that's the exact same, so that makes sense.
Sometimes it works, but sometimes it really doesn't.
Yeah.
So human dissection did go pretty under the radar for the next several centuries. There did, autopsies did sometimes occur, but there weren't generally any dissections for strictly medical or research purposes. Apparently in 1231, the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II decreed there should be a dissection of a cadaver every 5 years for anatomical studies, and my favorite part, everyone who is studying or practicing medicine should attend. So that kind of tells you how many studying medicine.
Yeah,
everybody can just come to this one cadaver dissection.
Yeah, all 10 of you.
Yeah, show up, you guys, every 5 years, no big.
Put that on your calendars now.
But this decree did lead to the first officially sanctioned public dissection, which was conducted by Mondino de Luisi at the University of Bologna in 1315. And that really kicked off the interest and enthusiasm for cadaver dissection in Europe. very exciting. Leonardo da Vinci did some dissections and stuff like that. It was, that whole Renaissance vibe.
Is this kind of where we get into like operating theaters?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
cool, cool,
indeed.
cool.
Indeed, it was. So, like, obviously, you would present these things to, medical students, other medical professionals, but also sometimes just random people who were like, I want to watch this.
That person's name, Penny Snark.
Hey. But, dissection is super popular again. People are like, yeah, I want to cut open this cadaver, but where can we get cadavers? Most general people in the population still think that dissection is unethical. So how about criminals?
Oh.
So
Womp womp.
here's a quote. Due to the medical demand for the supply of dead bodies, legislation was passed in 1505 that granted the incorporation of surgeons and barbers in Edinburgh the body of one executed criminal per year. And they had similar laws in London. People also, okay, so this is one of the saddest quotes that I've heard. Someone from another Scottish doctor petitioned the council for the bodies of executed men or those dying in hospitals with, quote, few friends or acquaintances that can take exception.
Oh.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, that
And
doesn't seem like the most respectful.
no. So dissection became even more closely tied with crime. In 1752, there was something called the Murder Act in Great Britain, which said that murderers could be dissected explicitly in the law to, quote, further mark of infamy to the punishment of death. So, like,
Don't commit a
don't
crime or
commit
we
a.
might live dissect you
Yep,
in
we're
front of
gonna
10
dissect
people every
you.
5 years.
Yep, and they were hoping that it would be an additional deterrent to crime. The idea that after you were executed, your body could be dissected.
Your innards could be put on public display.
Hmm. And it
Ooh.
was like history does say that for some of the accused and their families, dissection seemed like an even worse punishment than being executed itself. A
That's
major
wild.
reason for that was that dissection would prevent someone from having a Christian burial because you have to
Right.
have all of your parts to do that. And there would be like physical scuffles at executions between the physicians and the families trying to take possession of the body. Um, for a badass moment, I mean, this guy was potentially a murderer. He was convicted of murder, so thumbs
Sure.
down for that. But thumbs up for this gentleman, David Dobie, in 1820, who apparently shouted to the judge, "My lord, it is a grand thing that you cannot dissect the soul."
Ooh.
Which, boom, you tell him, David.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I don't know if those were his final words, but great,
Right.
great words to go out on.
Yeah, good last quote. So from there, you might guess that despite this legal supply of bodies, it just wasn't. It wasn't enough. So what are you gonna do when you need a dead body?
I
You're
don't want to
gonna
know.
dig that sucker right up. Uh,
Yeah.
so this enters what were known sometimes as resurrectionists, because medical professionals would pay for bodies, and at the time, digging up a body was not actually illegal.
Oh, just
Because,
exhume whenever you feel like it.
yep, a buried body was not a person, but it also was not considered property legally. So it was just a thing that
It was
belonged
just
to
a
no
thing.
one sitting in the ground.
Sure.
Um, and so this will lead us to something that any, anatomical and medical history enthusiasts will be familiar with. Burke,
Ghosts? No, I'm kidding.
the tale of Burke and Hare, from Edinburgh, who were both named William because there were only like 5 names in the olden times. Um, so in 1827, one of William Hare's elderly tenants died while still owing rent. And they were like, hold on, we can recoup some of this money. So they put weights in the coffin and secretly sold his body to Robert Knox, an anatomy lecturer at the university. And then they were like, whoa, sweet, you can get money for dead people. And decided that waiting for people to die is slow. It's very slow. And if you have a structured settlement and you need cash now, you
877 murder your servants.
servants, you go on to murder at least 16 people by luring them to be lodgers and then murdering them.
Well, it's not a
Whoops.
great business strategy, but I see
No.
where he's coming from.
Yes. So they were caught, and also there was like definitely some dubious stuff where this like anatomy lecturer was just like, I had no idea. But also like some of the people who showed up were like, it was not a large city. Like it was enough of a small town that like there would be someone with like a notable like physical ailment
Right.
that would just a body would show up with that same ailment, and it was like, I didn't hear that like one-legged Fred was sick.
Yeah.
And
And when they sell the body, it has like 32 stab wounds. He's like, well,
right.
that's weird. Anyway.
Anyway, not a problem. But this and other body buying related murders actually led to the 1832 Anatomy Act in England, which allowed for legal access to unclaimed bodies from workhouses, and prisons. And it did let you donate a relative's body in exchange for like the recipient paying for the burial.
Mm,
So this is a little bit better, but obviously still very much targets impoverished people and other, marginalized people who are, dying in prison or can't, their family can't afford to bury
to
them.
bury them, right? Well, and then too, there's also like a weird. I'm assuming that this did not, include like the dying person's wish to
Yeah.
be like.
Hmm.
Then somebody's just making that call for you after you're gone. Be like, yeah, we'll sell him. That's fine.
Right. Oh well. But you know what? This is enough about Europe, Midge. Don't leave America out. What about the good old U.S. of A?
Uh,
So
I surely don't know.
I've got something for you that's
Uh,
called the Resurrection Riot
oh no.
that happened all the way back in 1788 in New York. I did read a Smithsonian article about this, which was excellent. Um, so, going into the year, the city was abuzz with stories of medical students from Columbia College body snatching, particularly, surprise, surprise, from the cemetery where the city's black residents were buried.
Oh, people, why do you
Hmm.
have to be like this? I
And
hate
so,
humans so
right?
much.
And a group of, black residents of the city sent a petition to the Common Council to complain, and they didn't even ask for them to stop grave robbing. They just asked that it, quote, be conducted with the decency and propriety which the solemnity of such occasion requires. And people were still like, whatever. But of course, there was public outrage when later there was a report that a white woman was body snatched.
Oh no, a white woman.
Oh no.
Also, hold on, pause, rewind.
Yes,
Now tell me, what is the proper decorum for grave robbing?
I
Like,
know.
what were there rules in play? Like, oh well, at least wear black.
Right. I mean, I would say probably from the perspective of being like, if you're going to claim like this is for science, it's like, okay, well, we should like be serious and scientific and not be just
Use
like,
really large words while you're grave
yeah,
robbing.
don't be running around like hoisting shenanigans while you're robbing graves.
Oh my word. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway,
So
a white woman goes snatched.
yeah, and so that is all background to just general tensions in the city.
Sure.
Um, and then eventually tensions boiled over. So the exact like spark to this flame is unknown. So there are a bunch of stories about like some kids like potentially going by the college, and some people say that a med student like waved a cadaver arm out the window at kids,
No.
and some people say that kids like climbed up and like peeped in the window. There's one version of the story where the student was just like, "Hey kid, this is your mom's arm." Um,
Oh, well,
so there's no
not
like
bad.
actual reason known. But either way, a bunch of workmen stormed the university and set all of the anatomical specimens they could find on fire. Doctors and med students were taken into police custody for their protection, but the next morning, a mob formed and went hunting for doctors and or body parts. And Midge, guess who? Guess who came to the university to try and calm down this mob?
Someone who shouldn't have done that. Tell who?
It was Alexander Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why this wasn't in Hamilton because it's a great story.
Yeah, where's the cadaver or the resurrection
Yeah,
riot
the
storyline?
Resurrection Riot. So he was an alumni of Columbia College, and so he
Okay.
was like, "People, we need to calm down," and that did not work. They,
Typically, when you tell a
yep,
riled up group to calm down, that does almost the
yeah,
exact opposite. Yeah.
not historically a strong argument. So the mob searched the university for bodies, but the doctors and students had like removed everything wisely.
Sure.
But then they were just pissed and started going and breaking into doctors' homes around the city to just like see if they had bodies in there, I guess.
Ew.
And then finally, an estimated crowd of 5,000 came to storm the jail, yelling, "Bring out your doctors."
Oh, damn.
Um,
5,000 people?
so the militia came, and they, as militias often do, ended up open firing
I was
on the
gonna say
crowd.
shot a bunch of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So at
Great.
least 6 and maybe up to 20 people died. And even though the riot ended, shit just got really wild in New York, and it definitely poisoned the reputation of the medical establishment in the city. Uh, no one was ever arrested for the riot. There was like a grand jury, but like no charges were brought on it. And a group of prominent physicians did publish a notice swearing that they never body snatched from any cemetery in the city, which,
Is a lie?
phrasing,
Question mark.
did not actually include the Black Cemetery, which was not within city limits. So, yeah. So there were at least 17 anatomy riots of this sort across America,
Oh my god.
which led to the passing of anatomy laws, also known as bone bills. Excellent. Which both legislated against grave robbing and actually made grave robbing illegal, and put restrictions on the supply of cadavers. But yeah, there was definitely still ongoing grave robbing.
I
So
oh,
we'll fast forward a little bit.
so much happening.
So much. So whole body donation or an anatomical gift is definitely less taboo today, and you can, by your own choice, donate your body to a medical institution. So in 1968, the National Conference of the Commissioners on Uniform State Laws approved the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act, which provided that the donor's intent regarding the disposition of your body supersedes those of the next of kin, made willed body programs more systematic. And by 1972, 48 states had enacted laws that were based on this act. So now you can't just have a random relative donate your body for you after you
Sell your
die.
body. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. So this is going to bring us to one opportunity to donate your body, which is the body farm.
Body farm.
Body farm, which was the thing that Zenith brought up that brought me into this whole magical wild ride. You know, I can't resist going back to some wacky history whenever I
Some
have the chance.
historical craziness.
So
We
we're
love it.
finally here. So the original body farm is the University of Tennessee Anthropological Research Facility, founded in 1980 and received their first donation in 1981. So the purpose of a body farm is to observe and study the effects of long-term decomposition on a human body. So yes, they do take donated bodies and just lie them right out there in the wild and watch them decompose. And that is the vibe.
Are they like above ground or are they like
They
in a
are above
hole?
ground, like
Okay.
just lying out there.
Okay, so they're not like sitting. I mean, obviously they're not buried, like covered in dirt, but they're just like on top of the ground.
Yep.
Chilling. Okay.
So, for obvious reasons, this is very useful for determining when someone died for forensic investigation purposes. And today, there are actually 7 body farms across the US that are in different temperatures and climates, which is pretty cool, which gives you, kind of the ability, because obviously a body is going to decompose differently, like during winter in Wisconsin, than it does
Yeah.
in Texas. So they have them throughout. And we actually, I don't know if did you see this? I tried to get to it really fast. We got a message from someone else about body farms.
Oh, no, I didn't see it.
So this was from Sydney, aka Studio 50 Forage on Instagram. Thank you so much for sending this, Sydney. And she says, "Hey y'all, I had to stop mid listen to the latest episode when you mentioned the body farm in my hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee. I took a course in forensic anthropology at UT, and the fence campus where the body farm is located is huge. Warning: a few couple potentially queasy things ahead."
Okay.
Uh, she says it's right on the that is Sydney's warning,
Yeah.
FYI. She says it's right on the Tennessee River, and in the heat of summer, you can smell rotting corpses all the way to the river on the pedestrian walkway. Seems
Woof.
like most locals have at least one good story relating to Death Acres. My colleague Lindsay, who worked at the body farm as a researcher post college, accidentally tripped on a corpse while trying to take samples from it and landed right on top of it.
Oh, God.
Yep. She said it was so sticky from decomposition that it took her a hot second to get unstuck from the corpse. And she, of course, ran away screaming to the nearest water source to wash off.
Oh, my
Anywho, had to
God.
share when I heard you mention it. You two are the best school gang.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Right? Yeah, that is bonkers. I'm so sorry, Lindsay. That must have been terrible.
Yeah, no kidding.
uh,
I'm fascinated because, like, I really am fascinated by death sciences and
mhm.
things, but I don't know, like, I'm like, wow, some, like, people are purposefully working at places like that. Like, that's,
Yeah.
like, I am both fascinated, but also I don't think I could, like, go in there and, like, do it, you know?
Yeah, like I am definitely very, very interested in like reading all about these kind of things, but I
Right.
don't know if my grossometer could handle
No,
actually doing it and being there.
no.
So hats off to all of you who are doing the research and getting it done out there.
I also made the mistake of Googling this because I wanted to know what the body farms looked like, and that
Yeah.
is deeply upsetting.
Yeah. Uh yeah, not for the faint of heart. But I mean, it is all
All in the name of
donors.
science.
People
Yeah.
are people are these were not stolen from a cemetery, so we're all great, good to go here.
Yeah. No, more upsetting in the sense of like, oh wow.
Yeah,
Like,
human bodies.
human bodies are wild. That's crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, I have seen. Oh, now I don't remember who the artist is, but there was someone who made a really incredible embroidery of this famous illustration of the decomposition of a human hand,
Oh, the
where it's
hand
like,
with the different
yeah, each
fingers with
finger,
like bloat.
yeah,
Okay,
and
yeah.
someone did a
Mhm.
really cool embroidery of that, and I'm like, that's like gorgeously macabre, very
Yeah.
cool. Um,
That's cool.
Unfortunately, there is still bad business surrounding cadavers today.
Sure.
Um, so you
Because
can don't
humans.
right, yep, you can donate directly to a medical institution, but a lot of them do have restrictions on what type of body that they'll take. I'm not going to get super into this, but I am just going to say that most of them won't take fat people, which
Yeah.
means that no medical students ever do any, practice on a fat body, which sucks. And
Yeah.
thumbs down to that. But so there are body donation companies, but they operate for profit and are basically unregulated. A winning combination always. Some of you may remember in 2014, there was a huge news story about a company called the Biological Resource Center in Arizona, which misled a lot of people who thought they were donating their or their loved ones' bodies for scientific research and were instead selling whole bodies or parts for profit, for military testing, and all
Ooh.
sorts of other things. There are very similar stories across the country, so just be careful out there. I mean, I think a lot of people really would like the idea of donating your body to science and having your
Mhm.
body, kind of do something after you are no longer using it.
Yeah.
But there are definitely unscrupulous people who are still in this business, just like the resurrectionists of old. So be careful.
Send Alexander Hamilton in there. Get him,
Right?
calm him
Alexander
down.
Hamilton's gonna show up and be like, I would don't. I had a brief instinct to try a Lin Manuel impression, and then I was like, don't do it, Penny. Don't do it. It's
Don't,
not. You've made a
girl,
lot of
don't
wild
do it.
sounds and voices on this podcast, but this is not the time.
I was just thinking about it. I wasn't going to do it.
I wasn't gonna do it.
Yeah, I think that's more what I meant to looking at, because I literally why I just gave that a goog was I was like, oh, that would be like an interesting thing to, because I'm kind of the volition that like I don't really care what happens to my body
Mm-hmm.
when I'm not
Yeah.
using it anymore, and if it can be helpful to progressing, helping humankind, cool. Um, and so I was like, oh, that'd be a cool thing, and then I like looked it up and I was like, oh, I don't know about that actually.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta kind of be careful where you're going with that kind of thing.
Even like the legit, like I'm like I don't know if I want my body laying out in a farm. I don't know if that's for me personally.
That's fair. I wouldn't mind laying out on a farm. I don't think.
I'll let you take that one.
All right. Okay. I'll
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 do I'll do something
I'll,
else.
I'll call dibs on body farm.
I call dibs on body farm.
Well, those are my tales of cadavers, past and present, exciting murders. I mean, obviously, you could go into a whole episode or a
Oh
whole
sure.
article on like any of these things. So I definitely recommend checking out the books and podcasts that I mentioned earlier. There is definitely Sawbones definitely has a podcast about the Resurrection Riot, which is a blast, and it's a humorous medical history podcast. So highly recommend. It's a lot of fun.
I have not. I had not heard of that book or that podcast before now, so I'm excited to check those out.
Yes, always good to have new spooky things, and it's a good season for adding some spooky
Some
media to
spooky
your
things,
life.
yeah. Well, and yeah, thanks for the folks who brought this to us. This was a cool topic.
Yes, yes. Thank you for the inspiration. We are always happy to hear about the spooky things that you love and are passionate about. And they just might spark one of us, because I think we said on a previous episode, as soon as we saw your comment, Zenith, about the body farm, I was like, oh, I love the body farm. And was
Yeah,
like, and as I was like starting to take notes, I was like, oh wait, I just love cadavers and cadaver history. There's so much to talk about.
this just in. Penny loves cadavers.
Shocking, I know. Well, thank you so much for everyone joining us today. And an extra big thank you to everyone who joined us for our sleepover live stream last
Yeah.
week. We had so much fun, even though you guys made us drink pickle juice and sing things and eat nasty candy and share so many hot takes. That live is available on the Ghouls Night In Pod Instagram if you would like to watch it back. And the big announcement from the live is that our merch is now up.
Yes, and so many of you have already ordered. Thank you so
Ah,
much for that. I mean, Penny and I have mentioned several times we more or less made it because we both wanted shirts. So it's very cool
yes.
that you all want to wear our little podcast on your bodies or your mugs or your totes. Please tag us over on Instagram at Ghouls Night in Pod when you get your. I've gotten notifications that stuff started shipping, so
Ooh, so
please,
exciting.
yeah, please tag us and show us you in your ghouls merch. We would love to see it.
Please, if you have not gotten your hands on some yet, you can find that at midgemunster.com/shop. There will also be a link in our episode description.
Yes.
And well, we did just mention that you can follow the podcast at Ghouls Night In Pod on Instagram for live streams, announcements, cool, fun photos for spooky topics for each episode, and just all sorts of fun things. And if you, oops, no, we're getting into the Instagram plug when I didn't even ask you if you had a review to share, Midge. Where is my head today?
In the body farm.
Yep, just lying under a tree
All
out
right,
in
Penny.
out in Tennessee.
Well, we do have a review to share, and if you are also enjoyed the podcast, please remember that you can leave us a review over on, I know for sure, Apple Podcasts. I'm not
Mhm.
sure how Google Podcasts works, but anywhere you listen to your podcast, try to leave us a review. We would love to hear from you. Today's is actually from our Podbean account from MB Simpson, and they said, "Love your show, makes me laugh and smile. Thanks for making it." Thank you
Aw,
so much. We love making it for you.
we do. You're welcome.
You're so welcome.
All right. Smash cut back to Instagram. If you want to find me on Instagram, or really anywhere you might find people on the internet, you can find me at Penny Snark.
And if you're looking for me, you can find me across the web at Midge Munster.
And until next time,
Good.